Brianne's going to welcome everyone.
I'm going to welcome everyone.
And I'll introduce you.
Hello. I'm sorry we had a little delay. We had some technical problems, but I think we've solved them. And I'm really happy because we have a great program in store for you. If anybody doesn't know me yet, I'm Brianne Shear, president of the Hadassah New Orleans chapter. And I want to welcome back those who have been here before and welcome new participants. We've really, social media and word of mouth has gotten the word out, and we have reached over 100 attendees in these sessions. 100 people have participated. So feel free to join any of our sessions with the same link. And if you're registered, you will get a link every week before a couple hours, few hours prior to the meeting. This week is going to be a really great program, and I'm going to let Suzanne introduce, who's the chairman of this the entire program, introduce our host. Suzanne, take it away.
Thank you, Brianne. Welcome, everybody. I can see we have some new people today, and we're excited each week when we see so many people. As I said before in intros, this started as a suggestion at a Hadassah board meeting and just grew organically. I'm pleased to thank Brianne for her support and encouragement, the committee members, Alan Smason, Harriet Hilson, Cindy Dunn, and Helen Stone, plus Hadassah's publicity maven, Fran Simon, for all their tireless work on this. We quickly agreed in designing the program that Jewish music is broadly music of and by Jewish people, religious or secular, sometimes to biblical date times. Every time and place where Jews have lived has been influenced by others, and we have influenced other people. So this week is jazz, and boy, do we have the right person. Helen Stone studied music theory at Newcomb, and all of you in the New Orleans area know her, but for those who don't, and even those who do, let me just remind you, she's been an incredible professional helping children as a child protection investigator and adoption supervisor, and as a substitute teacher. She brightened our community by serving with Betty Moore as the immediate past co-president of our Hadassah chapter. We book lovers know her as the leader of the Hadassah Readers Circle. And she has earned a black belt in karate, 44 years of studying. She thinks she still has spare time. And despite all of these activities, and she, including caring for a disabled granddaughter, she spends that time continuing to learn. I think we might have some of her Torah study buddies from Tulane joining in. And she learns a variety of ways. And now we will all benefit from her learning about music, and especially jazz. Take it, Helen.
Okay, can everybody hear me? Good. Okay, welcome everyone to Jews and Jazz. Today, I am so sorry for the technical difficulties. I'm a complete idiot when it comes to computers and things like that. I'm in the wrong generation. I also have to tell you, although I think you will enjoy all of our musical contributions here, that sometimes I wasn't able to get rid of all of the ads. So we're going to do our best to continue with this presentation. We're going to talk about the numerous contributions of Jewish composers, performers, and promoters of that uniquely American musical phenomena known as jazz. This presentation is supposed to be limited to approximately 45 minutes and includes musical samples from Louis Moreau Gottschalk in the 19th century to Sophie Tucker at the turn of the 20th century, to the King of Swing, Benny Goodman, in the 30s and 40s, and cool jazz of Stan Getz. My apologies if I have left out any of your favorite musicians, but I wanted to cover the broad spectrum of Jewish contributions to the promotion and influence of jazz, as well as highlighting specific performers in this medium. This distinctly American phenomena borrowed from the African and Latin American melodies and rhythms to create a unique style that was characterized by syncopated rhythm, polyphonic ensemble playing, improvisation, and deliberate dislocation of pitch and time. Our first musical sample is The Banjo by Louis Moreau Gottschalk, the son of a Jewish businessman from London and a Creole mother. Gottschalk, who traveled extensively in Europe and South America, combined the popular melodies he picked up during the travels with the African rhythms he routinely observed in Congo Square in New Orleans. This is a rendition of banjo played by Matt Herkowitz. Now let's see, I'm going to do my best to get this for you. Okay. Edith, when I want to go back to, how do I get back to the people talking?
You're there, Helen.
Oh, I'm there. Okay.
Your screen
Hi.
didn't, your screen
What?
did not share. The music shared, but we did not see
Oh,
the video.
Sorry. Oh, well, I'll try.
But we heard the music, which was great.
Good. Okay, that's the most important thing. A couple of times it'd be nice to see their hands.
Right.
Okay. By the way, this is something that I just noticed when I was listening to this a couple of times. I don't know if anyone is familiar with Stephen Foster's music, but I kind of picked up in there Camptown Races. Little melody in there. I don't know if that's deliberate or it's just my imagination.
It sounded like that throughout to me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I thought the whole thing was a rip on that. Yeah.
Okay. One of the more popular types of jazz at the turn of the 20th century was ragtime. And ragtime utilized a specific type of syncopation in which melodic accents fall between the metrical beats. The result is that the melody seems to be avoiding symmetrical use of accompaniment by emphasizing either an anticipatory or a follow-up beat. Now, one of the most famous performers of ragtime was the last of the Red Hot Mamas, Sophie Tucker, an international star of vaudeville who was born in the Ukraine in 1887 and immigrated to the United States. She performed in Yiddish and English in a career that spanned over 50 years. I'm actually going to play two pieces of hers. The first one, Jig Walk, is definitely a ragtime piece. The next one, My Yiddish Mama, which I think a lot of you who maybe had Yiddish speaking grandparents or parents will appreciate, is more in a blues type of setting. Now here is Jig Walk. Hold on, Sophie Tucker. Oop, play now, wait a minute. Hold on. It's coming. I'm having trouble. Let me play the other one first. Here's a Yiddish Mama. I may have to pass on the other one.
I've had a goodly share, and as I sit in the comfort of a cozy chair, my fancy takes me to a humble east side tenement, 3 flights in the rear to where my childhood days was spent. It wasn't much like paradise, but amid the dirt and all, there sat the sweetest dame June, one that I fondly call my Yiddish mama. I need her more than ever now. My Yiddish mama, I'd love to kiss that wrinkled brow. I long to hold her hands once more, as in days gone by, and ask her to forgive me for things I did that made her cry. How few were her pleasures. She never cared for fashion style. Her jewels and treasures, she found them in her baby's smile. Oh, I know that I owe what I am today to that dear little lady, so old and gray, to that wonderful Yiddish mama,
Okay. You can hear me now?
Helen, you are in the meeting. You're in the meeting.
Okay.
Your screen, we're not seeing video, but
Okay.
I guess we'll just be happy to
Deal with that. I'm
listen.
sorry.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
On screen video.
Another important genre of jazz that emerged in the first quarter of the 20th century was blues, which borrowed heavily from the African-American gospel songs in the South. Ray Charles once stated, gospel and blues are almost the same thing. It's just a question of whether you're talking about a woman or God. On the flip side, there were Black artists who incorporated swinging Yiddishisms into their compositions. Cab Calloway, Ut Da Zay, has definite cantorial overtones accompanied by syncopated rhythms associated with jazz. Now, this is actually Cab Calloway singing this song. It means the Taylor's song, and I guess it's supposed to be talking about how the tailor actually does his job. So let's see if we can come up with that now. Cab Calloway, play.
to me a haunting little melody. Nobody knows where it came from or where it was composed. Sings the tailor as he fashions burning clothes. Octazoy sings the tailor as he sews and sews and sews. He's as busy as a bee, making lovely finery. Things my baby loves to wear when I take her to the fair. Octazoy sings the tailor, all it means is that the way. When I buy the things he made her, says the tailor Octazoy. Oh, do you think you chop, chop, chop? Are you hip to this jive that I'm laying to you?
So it's quite an experience to watch this African-American gentleman singing and sounding like a cantor. Now we're going to look a little bit later. Over 2.5 million Jews disembarked on America's East Coast during the first half of the 20th century. Most settled in urban areas, especially New York, which journalist Monroe Rosenfeld dubbed Tin Pan Alley. Some of the more famous musicians and composers from that area were George Gershwin, Irving Berlin, Al Jolson, and Richard Rodgers. I only mention them in passing because an excellent presentation on Jewish contributions to Broadway was presented by Alan Smason in the first of this lecture series. One less famous musician of this era was Willie the Lion Smith. Born in New York in 1893, his full name was William Henry Joseph Bonaparte Berthold Smith, and he was the son of a Creole mother and Jewish father. At age 6, he went down to the basement of his Academy Street home in Newark, New Jersey to play on his mother's organ. He really wanted to learn to play the piano, but every time his family came close to getting money to buy the instrument, there was another mouth to feed. So he got a job at Houseman's Footwear. Mr. Houseman paid him the generous wage of $5 a week because he liked the fact that Willie could speak Hebrew and that he planned to buy a piano with money he earned. Willie, along with Fats Waller and James P. Johnson, was one of the 3 great stride pianists of his day. The term stride comes from the practice of the left hand leaping back and forth across the piano. The left hand plays a 4-beat pulse alternating on beats 1 and 3 with chords on beats 2 and 4. This jazz rhythm involves subtle rhythmic tension between the left hand, which is close to an established tempo, and the right hand, which is often slightly anticipatory. I'm going to play for you now, and I'm sorry that you can't see the picture because you can see his left hand going back and forth across the piano. But this is going to be the Carolina Shout, Willie the Lion Smith.
In 1940, few pianists achieved
And I do
the
have to-
status of Willie the Lion Smith.
There we go.
Harlem was the lion's den. There he lay in wait for other pianists trying to make a name for themselves. Duke Ellington said that any cat who came in thinking he was something special had to prove it right then and there, and he usually came out lacerated by the lion.
So I started to play, and I'm walking tense and doing what I thought was pretty hip for a young piano player. And I was about 16 bars into the tune when this elderly gentleman with a cigar and a derby came over and said, "Let me try a little of that, son." I looked at it, yeah, sure. So I get up, and this guy sat down. I have never in my life heard a left hand like this. And he was awesome. The left hand, he was playing octaves and a chord. Then he played 10th and a chord. He was doing, I said, wow.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, sorry. Hold on. Get pads. Okay.
My mouth fell open. It was Willie Lion Smith.
They called the early jazz pianists ticklers, and Willie the Lion Smith was a tickler's tickler. He was also a showman, a composer of over 100 songs, a war hero, a cantor in a Harlem synagogue, and a raconteur. He helped to create the piano style known as stride, but in the words of Duke Ellington, he was beyond category.
He hated categories. And he was a musician. A musician plays music. Other people name it.
Okay. All right, we move on now to the swing era, featuring big bands led by musicians such as clarinetist Benny Goodman and Artie Shaw. Simple chords accompanied by lyrical melodies with a strong, solid dance beat made these pieces very popular with nightclubs. Benny Goodman and his band brought this genre to a whole new level, however, when he gave the first jazz concert at Carnegie Hall in 1938. The concert established that jazz bands had value for listening purposes only. When asked how much time he needed for intermission, he replied, "How much time did Toscanini get?" Here is a sample of Benny Goodman's swing style band playing Moonglow. And those of you who are old enough to remember the movie Picnic will recognize this as the main theme song from there. So here we go. Benny Goodman. Clarinetist Artie Shaw was known for hiring Billie Holiday as his vocalist for the tour of the South. Unfortunately, the Southern audiences were not appreciative of Black musicians performing with white bands, and Miss Holiday left the tour before it ended. Shaw was also an expert fly fisherman and marksman and the author of several books. The Trouble with Cinderella, An Outline of Identity, and I Love You, I Hate You, Drop Dead, Variations on a Theme. Haven't had a chance to check those out yet. One of his best known recordings was Begin to Begin, which was based on a Cole Porter theme. And I'm going to play that for you now.
Of Cole Porter's Begin to Begin.
Uh-oh, it's probably an ad. Sorry.
And 12 F boys. We just have to figure out who the F is who.
Sorry.
There's a lot of F boys to get rid of.
Trying to get out of the
Out of here.
that ad. Come on. Sorry about that. Hope you enjoy that. I'm really sorry you can't see the picture because you could be watching the musicians play as well. Now, one of the most famous drummers of this era and at one time a member of the Artie Shaw Band was Buddy Rich. Frank Sinatra, who performed in the Tommy Dorsey Band with Buddy, became a lifelong friend. According to Buddy's daughter, Kathy, Sinatra showed up at their door with a pot of spaghetti sauce when Buddy was ill and asked, "Can Buddy eat garlic?" He then proceeded to cook a nice Italian meal in their kitchen for his friend. Now, Buddy did not read music, but that did not deter him. He allegedly was having a heart attack while playing the Impossible drum solo in 1982, which I am going to play for you now. And I really wish you could see this because you would understand perfectly why he might be having a heart attack while playing the drums. Here we go. Here we go.
Welcome
The
back
ads
to A Slice
again.
of Life. Topped with
Sorry.
extra smiles.
Almost
Call or
ready.
book online today.
There we
You
go.
can take drums
No,
that sound
come
like
on.
this.
3, 2, 1. Okay. Okay. There we go. I cut that one short a little bit because you can't actually see him. So it might get a little monotonous if you're just listening. Godfrey Hirsch, who was a vibraphonist whose main influence was Lionel Hampton, was a jazz pianist and vibraphonist, was a fixture in New Orleans for many decades. While most of his gigs were low profile, he did tour with Louis Prima Band for a year. And in 1960, he joined the Pete Fountain Band in New Orleans. I'm going to play for you a piece called Happiness by Godfrey Hirsch. And again, we have some ads to get through. I'm sorry. Now we move on to more avant-garde types of jazz. Stan Getz influenced several musical movements, including the cool jazz of the 50s and the bossa nova of the 60s. Some of the more prominent features of cool jazz include swing and syncopation, improvisation, bent or blue notes, that is, a note for expressive purposes is played at a slightly different pitch from the standard, between a quarter tone and a semitone. One of his most famous recordings is The Girl from Ipanema, which written in 1962 and won a Grammy Award in 1965. And I think many of you will probably recognize this tune also. So here we go. Play.
You probably made fun of them as a child, but
Sorry,
beans are one of the best foods on the...
Here we go. Nope. I'm sorry. These wretched ads. There.
Doralice, bem que lhe disse, amar é tolice, é bobagem, é ilusão. Eu prefiro viver tão sozinho, ao som do lamento do meu violão. Doralice, bem que lhe disse, olha esse embrulhado em que vou me meter. Agora, amor, Doralice, meu bem, como é que nós vamos fazer? Doralice, bem que lhe disse, amar é tolice, é bobagem, é ilusão. Eu prefiro viver tão sozinho, ao som do lamento do meu violão. Doralice, bem que lhe disse, olha esse embrulhado em que vou me meter. Agora, amor, Doralice, meu bem, como é que nós vamos fazer? Um belo dia você me surgiu, eu quis fugir, mas você insistiu. Alguma coisa bem que andava me avisando, até parece que eu estava adivinhando. Bem que não queria me casar contigo, bem que não queria enfrentar este perigo, Doralice. Agora você tem que me dizer, como é que nós vamos fazer?
And some of you may have realized, no, that was not The Girl from Ipanema. Sorry about that. But it was Stan Getz. Another American composer and multi-instrumentalist, John Zorn, recorded under his own label, Tzaddik, and set a goal of writing 100 compositions based largely on klezmer tunes. Within 3 years, the number of compositions had grown to 205 and became known as the Masada Book. Here is Zorn performing with his Masada group. And I have to warn you, the music is a little harsh. It doesn't exactly sound like the klezmer music I'm used to hearing, but here we are. After the ads, that is. No, that is not him. Okay, here we are. And that was John Zorn playing his saxophone. Now, as you can see from the samples I've played in this presentation, there's a great deal of diversity in style and performance in this genre. Kurt Schleier wrote that the sound of jazz took in so many places it could be called the Yiddish of musical form. Finally, we come to the Jewish promoters and supporters of jazz, without whom we may never have had the opportunity to enjoy their labors. Jerry Wexler, the son of a Jewish father and a Jewish Polish mother, invented the term rhythm and blues in the late 40s to describe a new musical style. He produced many legendary R&B artists, including Ray Charles, Aretha Franklin, Dusty Springfield, and Wilson Pickett. Many of you probably are familiar with the influence and support of the Karnofsky family for the great Louis Armstrong. As a young man, Louis rode on the Karnofsky's junk wagon and tooted a tin horn, which attracted customers to their business. Eventually, Mr. Karnofsky loaned Louis the money to purchase his first cornet. Mrs. Karnofsky also routinely made sure that Louis, whose family was very poor, ate a good breakfast before he went off to work. He was so appreciative of the family's kindness that he wore a Star of David around his neck all of his adult life. The Werlein family, owners of the prominent music store in New Orleans, provided many prominent musicians such as Kid Ory, Fats Domino, and Louis Armstrong with their instruments. Jazz piano player George Wein was the founder of the Newport Festival and New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival. Former art gallery owner Larry Borenstein provided space for musicians to play, which eventually became Preservation Hall. And when Sandra and Alan Jaffe decided after a visit to New Orleans to stay, they took over the management of Preservation Hall. Alan played the tuba with the band, and his son, Ben, who also plays the tuba, is Preservation Hall director. So I'm now going to end this program with a performance of Preservation Hall musicians' Go to Mardi Gras. And once again, I'm sorry you can't see it, because if you look in the back of the picture that shows them playing this song, you can see Ben Jaffe playing the tuba. And here we go. After the ads, of course.
If you go to New Orleans, you want to go see the Mardi Gras. If you go to New Orleans, you want to go see the Mardi Gras. When you see the Mardi Gras, somebody will tell you the carnival's born. With your ticket in your hand, you want to go to New Orleans. With your ticket in your hand, you want to go to New Orleans. When you get to New Orleans, somebody will show you the Zulu King. We'll see the Zulu King down on on St. Paul and Remain. We'll see the Super King down on St. Paul and Remain. If you stand right there, I'm sure you'll see that Zulu Queen. Come on, Charlie. We're gonna turn his mother out. We're gonna jump and shout. We're gonna turn his mother out. We're gonna jump and shout. We're gonna turn his mother out.
Okay. Okay. How do I get back to you? Brian?
You've been with us the whole time, Helen.
Okay, I have been with you. Okay, you just can't see me, that's all. And I hope you enjoyed all of this. I'm really sorry that you couldn't actually see the pictures because in many cases that really does add to the music, but at least you did get to hear the music. And so thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions?
Alan?
Yes.
Alan,
Yeah.
did you have a,
Yes.
you had a suggestion to play something else?
Well, actually, I think Brand's going to give that out in the, let me put my video on so everybody can see, I guess, good or bad. Wonderful presentation, Helen. I just wanted to know that there are a couple of links that I have out for people who want more information that are going to be shared. Brand's got that, but, and I'm going to also send her one on the Satchmo and the Star story about the Karnofsky family. For those who don't know it, one of the things that you mentioned, which was a little bit, let's say, not exact correct, was that yes, he was given the money, loaned the money for the B-flat cornet, which is his first, which came from a particular Jewish family's pawn shop, if you will. It was the Finks, not the Fertels, but the Finks. But one of the things that I wanted to mention too is that it was Morris Karnofsky, who was his contemporary, not Lewis, who was much older than him, that actually loaned him the money for that. But that's all in the story that I'm going to share with Brianne as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just said the family. I didn't.
Yeah, yeah. But you said the way you said it, it sounded like the father had loaned the money.
No.
Yeah. But in any event, the one that's on Louis Armstrong called Satchmo and the Star, and of course, this is the weekend for Satchmo Fest, right?
That's right. That's why we have it today.
Right. And one of the things that the gentleman who is in charge of the Ricky Riccardi is in charge of the Louis Armstrong Home and Museum said that the Satchmo and the Star article, which I wrote, was the most accurate, the closest that he had seen of anybody about the story because there's so much misinformation and it's sort of protective on my part. There was a children's book that was done with the blessing of the Karnofsky family. They got the whole thing wrong, but it's for kids, so hopefully they won't retain that.
That's right.
But anyway, I'll share that as well. So, Rand, can you
Yeah.
But I love jazz. Thank you for doing this. I do appreciate it.
No,
thank you.
Helen, I want to thank you for picking such a great selection of music. And I have to say, having seen many of the videos, there was something really nice about just focusing on the music. But
yeah, because when we did it at Suzanne's, we saw all the videos.
I will tell you that I'm going to get the links to all these videos from Helen, and I always send out a link to the recording of the meeting. Right. So I'll also in there include the links to the pieces of music, the videos, so that if you choose to watch one or all, you will have them to click on.
Yeah, especially like the Buddy Rich. I mean, you can really see when you can actually see him playing the drums frantically.
Helen, you did such a good job. You have garnered our first question of the series.
Oh, okay.
Which is really to everyone. What do you think drew Jews to jazz? And what might it say about the shared experience of Jews and Africans and African Americans?
Well, I think one of the things, and I didn't really go into this, but in New Orleans especially, the Jews and the African Americans live close together. And so I think maybe I think there's also a natural feeling of we don't belong, in the general population so much. So maybe that kind of drew them to each other. But also, if you think, one of the things that I hadn't thought about before with Utah Zay that Cab Calloway sang, they were drawn to our music too. And I never thought about that before until I saw that Cab Calloway piece. And especially there's that one part in the beginning there where it sounds just like a cantor singing in the synagogue. So I think they had that, there's kind of that minor musical kind of sound that you have in the blues, and that you have in the liturgical music in the synagogue. So maybe there was something there that brought those two together. I don't know. Maybe somebody else has some other ideas.
Well, my thought, Helen, because I love the quote you had that jazz is like Yiddish.
Yeah.
And I think both the African-American community of musicians and Jews have had to adapt to other cultures and living with other peoples, and have been able to synthesize their own culture with others. And so that would be my answer, but it's really driven by your quote. So
What you
thank
might
you.
also
I was
notice,
hoping
one
you
of the
would've
things
called
that I
about an
noticed
hour
too,
ago. What's been going on?
was that two of these musicians, Willie Smith, and who was the other one? They had a Creole mother and a Jewish father. And well, even Gottschalk was classically trained, so he's a little bit different in that sense, as was Benny Goodman too, by the way, and Artie Shaw also. But I think the fact that you had with several of these musicians had an African-American parent. So I think that tells you something there.
There might, if you go back to Europe and klezmer, which was very much influenced by Roma music, gypsy music, and there was in the same way that we kind of went back and forth between the two groups, the two marginalized groups.
Yes, I think that definitely has a lot to do with, and there's that minor key too.
Right.
Those what they call the blue notes in jazz. But I was just fascinated watching, like Willie Lyon Smith. I never heard of Willie Lyon Smith. I'm embarrassed to say. And I studied American music in college. I studied jazz, but many years ago. But watching him play, and to find out that he was one of the three main stride piano players, but he had an African-American mother and a Jewish father. So there you are.
That's a video I think people are going to want to see. Because
yeah,
it's fun to watch him play.
Watching that
with a cigar in his mouth and
it is amazing. Anybody else have any questions or? Well, thank you very much. I apologize profusely for you having to wait. I don't know, believe it or not, we went through this whole thing at Suzanne's house last week. The only difficulty we had there was me getting into her Wi-Fi, and I had to call my daughter on the phone, and my daughter helped us today also because she's a lot more astute with all of this technical stuff than I am. But it's a complete mystery to me why I wasn't able to share the screen.
Well, I think, Helen, we're going to dock your pay.
Oh dear.
No, I think you did an amazing job just selecting the music. It was wonderful.
I have to say I owe a debt to Alan because now I had picked the music before I heard his presentation, but I realized that the technical explanations were a little shallow that I had. So I went back and did a lot more research. And I said, oh, well, I need to fill in stuff here. And I was lucky in being able to find things. The only thing is that sometimes I just couldn't I didn't know how to cut out the ads. So that was a nuisance. But other than that, I hope that you enjoyed the music. I certainly did. And thank you very much.
Okay, well, I want to thank you, Helen and Suzanne and the entire committee, and also thank all the people who've joined us for this. It's a lot of fun every week, and you will get the links, I promise. This is a teaser. You have to wait a little bit for the links to the videos. But next week is klezmer. We're going to be listening to some klezmer music. So I hope you'll be able to join us. If you're here today, you will get a reminder on Sunday, a few hours before the next session. So no need to register a second time. And as soon as I can get this recording downloaded and uploaded and I'm learning how to do all kinds of things. I will send everyone who's registered a link.
Brian, for spending so much time every week.
Oh.
Yes, I really, and with me.
No, it's been great. It's been great. And, we all are just doing this for a cause. And if anybody wants to make a donation to Hadassah, we put on this free program, but we're welcoming donations. And I will also put that link in the in that email with the recording. So thank you for being with us, and we hope we'll see you next week.
Absolutely.
Until then.
As Edward R. Murrow used to say, good night and good luck.
That's right.
All right. Oh, I can finally get rid of all of these things.